What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe, connect to me, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. So let's get on with it. Last night's main event between Joseph Parker and Fabio Wardley. What a fight. Very, very dramatic fight. It all ends in the 11th round and it was a TKO. So the referee stepped in and stopped the fight as he deemed Joseph Parker in no real position to continue. Now, this was, I think, exceptional fight. It was a fight that kind of swung back and forth. I think the consensus, and for me personally, I had Joseph Parker sort of up going into that 11th round. So I thought he was sort of just about pipping Fabio Wardley just a bit ahead, couple of rounds probably. But Fabio Wardley all throughout the fight was dangerous. It started off sort of with very positively for Joe Parker. I think Joseph Parker had a good first round. He was able to make Fabio Wardley miss. He showed a bit of his class in there in that first round, and that was his round where he sort of took control. But to his credit, Fabio Wardley bided his time, and he got straight stuck back in, and he's turned around. I would say at least it was either round two or round three where he sort of got himself back into the fight and he turned things in his favor. And then Joseph Parker was boxing quite aggressively, and Fabio Wardley, to his credit, was able to make Joseph Parker miss with some of these right hands he was throwing and certain things Parker was throwing in there, especially with that right hand where he was just trying to throw sort of a right hand lead. A lot of those were, Wardley was making Parker miss. He was seeing certain attacks coming, but then Parker would do great work with the lead hand, and he dominates some of the rounds with his left hand, throwing double and triple jabs and then hooking up for the jab. And Parker was boxing pretty well in this fight, but I think the weight might have told on him a little bit because his work rate wasn't sort of up to par with how it was against other fighters. But he seemed. I suppose it could be a combination of the weight and maybe once he sort of felt the power of Fabio Wardley, you could tell that at certain moments and certain times in his fight going through it, he was a bit wary of the power. He would hesitate sometimes, but he then sort of got back to grips with it. He managed to late into the fight, I want to say, I think it was around round 10, just before the end. Because Parker, he was able to wobble Wardley a couple of times, and then Wardley gets him back. But with Wardley, he always seemed to be, never seemed to be quite out on his feet completely. He seemed to still have kind of his wits about him and never seemed quite, completely out on his feet or anything. So, yeah, he did get hurt sometimes, although he denies it, but it certainly looked that way. And then, just before the end, Joseph Parker has a great, vast majority of round 10. He's all over Wardley, manages to catch Wardley with some good shots and make Wardley stand up straight and make Wardley sort of go back and have to think for a second. But then the sign at the end was towards the end of the 10th round, where you had Fabio Wardley getting hurt by Joseph Parker, getting rocked by him, but then sort of stepping back and saying, "Yeah, come on, bring it on," and sort of he took Joseph Parker's best shots in that 10th round, and then called Joseph Parker, "Yeah, come on," and then it was like once Fabio Wardley then started putting the pressure on, he started putting his punches together. You could tell that, wow, this is serious now, and Joseph Parker is in deep trouble. That there, for me at least personally, that latter part of the 10th round where Wardley said, okay, I've taken your best shot now, come on. And then he started offloading his best shots. He started catching Parker and, vicious assaults on Parker. And he hurt Joseph Parker. And, that's where it looked like, wow, the writing's on the wall. And Parker sort of rocked and he was backed into his corner. And then comes the ending, the 11th round, which I want to say it was a tiny little bit controversial, because you had Fabio Wardley, once again Parker trying to keep his composure, and Fabio Wardley hurts him again in that 11th round, and then just goes after Parker and keeps wailing away at him. And I want to say there was a point sort of earlier than when it was stopped, where the fight could have been stopped because Parker was taking punches, but then Parker kind of recovered a little bit, rocked back to the ropes, put his hands up, wasn't really throwing much back. He was just sort of rocking around the place, and Wardley was just pouring on the pressure, more combination after combination. And the irony is that where the fight was actually stopped, those last couple of punches that Wardley threw actually missed Joseph Parker. They actually didn't really catch him cleanly. They were just sort of missing him. It was the punches before that sort of done the damage, but then Howard Foster steps in and just calls it off there. And I think it's one of those things. It kind of two ways you can look at it. I mean, for me, I think with the fact that yes, Wardley was wailing away, but during those last couple of punches, he was tiring himself. So I think Parker did deserve a bit of a chance there to sort of carry on and to sort of see, okay, let's see if he can come back here. And I think he deserved a chance to carry on a little bit longer. It was a bit premature as far as a stoppage, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was terrible stoppage or badly premature, because I think Parker should have known what he's doing there. And I was saying at the time watching it that Parker he should have just taken a knee there, or just sort of grab hold of Fabio Wardley. He needed to mount some sort of response, or even if he just threw arm punches back at Fabio Wardley, needed to do something. So yeah, I think in some sense it was a little bit early stoppage, but in the referee's defense, Parker didn't really throw anything back, and he was overwhelmed, and it was a sustained period of just Wardley wailing away. I think a little bit early, but because Parker didn't do the right thing in terms of holding or throwing back, or like taking a knee, just so he gets like a little breather there and then he gets the benefit of the doubt from the referee. I think taking a knee there would have bought him the time and would have gave him that bit more of a chance there. But anyway, congratulations to Fabio Wardley. It is, a huge achievement to even get to this level. A guy with no amateur experience, white collar boxing, and white collar boxing is not amateur or professional boxing. It's just ordinary people just sort of jumping in the ring with no real experience. You have business workers, people that do 9 to 5s, just jumping in the ring and fighting. So it's not really a valid boxing experience. And for him to come up and fight someone Joseph Parker's level, former world champion, and to be undefeated to this point, and to be now the next man up to face the best heavyweight of our time in Alexander Usyk, it's an amazing achievement. And I can't pick him to pull it off against Usyk, but I suppose they could say stranger things have happened, but great achievement by Fabio Wardley, absolutely fantastic achievement. He can hold his head high because he's just ripped up the script. I mean, I'm like a traditionalist when it comes to boxing. I believe you should try to be a very good amateur, do your best in the amateurs, try to box internationally, try to do well domestically in the amateurs and work your way up and have a lot of fights. But You know, guys like Fabio Wardley, they rip up the script because in my head it's like the logical thing, you do the amateurs, be good at the amateurs, start as early as possible, have as many as you can, and get to as high level as you can, and then you're ready for the pros, and then do it the conventional way. But Fabio Wardley has just ripped up the script. He's done it his own way. He started boxing late at 20 years old, where if you ask most boxing people, they're going to say you're crazy. You can't start nothing at 20 years old. But he's done it. He's proven you can do it. 10 years in boxing, and he's ready now to go for undisputed. It's amazing. And, you know, for that reason alone, you got to salute, you got to take your hat off to Fabio Wardley. Much respect. And congratulations. Let me know your thoughts on the fight in the comments. And until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.